Welcome to the BPD Bunch. I'm your host, Sanny, and today I'm here with Jay, Andre, Georgette, and Katya. We're continuing our conversation from Wednesday about BPD and structure. If this or other BPD-related topics interest you, please make sure to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you do not miss anything. This episode series about structure is brought to you by our BPD besties over on Patreon. They voted for this topic and got to watch us live behind the scenes while we were recording. So thank you again so much. This has been a great conversation. Today's question is, what are your top tips for maintaining effective structure in your life?
I think for me, using some form of pre-planning, using a list, I find quite helpful because it's easy, and I mean a written list, whether it's typed or physically written down, because when I have plans in my head, it's so easy to get sidetracked by external influences or something comes along on that day. So like I said, even something as simple as we're here tomorrow, we've got a bin day. So it seems something was putting that in my diary because often like with ADHD, I'll just forget. I'll just think, oh, I know I'm supposed to do something. But also I think having other people to check in on me that I have done that thing, that's also helped. I mean, it can get a bit overwhelming if it's constantly checking, but I do try to have close friends or people that are trusted people that can check in and how you getting along with this, what have you got left. And sometimes I find for certain things, just having a friend come and maybe sit with me while I get on and do something, that's been really helpful for me. Obviously, it's not applicable to everyone. It's not easy just to do that. But sometimes just having someone else there while I'm right, you sit there, have a cup of tea while I get on and do this. And that's made a massive difference to me.
I think one of the things that I would say is to give it time. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of creating structure is built around creating habits. And I think I read somewhere on average it's about 66 days for something to become a habit. So I think like in terms of creating structure, it is important to give it time to bed in and become a habit and to persevere with it. But also, I think if you can get support from people around you and get them to buy into it, that's really important as well. So, for example, I've never been fantastic with going to the gym in terms of using it for its purpose. I always used to use it in conjunction with disordered eating and those kind of things. So I now have a friend that I go to the gym with on a weekend. We go really early in the morning. I can't be tempted to overdo it because he's there with me and then we go for coffee afterwards. So that has become part of my structure on a weekend, which has also been really important for symptom management for me as well. But also, that person and other people around me also serve as a really good check-in with myself because I know that I do take things to extremes. I can become quite obsessive. So I do rely on other people to pick up on indicators that that is happening and making sure that I'm not doing anything that is unhealthy. So, I'm not sacrificing the fun stuff for the sake of order and routine. So I think those things have been really important for me when I've been creating my own structure.
When I think about structure, I'm like, I still don't really have that much structure in my life other than sort of like pre-scheduled regular things. Like I'm part of a barbershop choir. We rehearse every Tuesday night. That's something that's structured, but it's an external thing. And since I work for myself most of the time, I really just have to-do lists. And I think I also have somebody in my life who is kind of like an accountability buddy where we check in on a weekly basis of all the things that need to get done. And that I think is really helpful as well, just so that things don't fall through the cracks. But I think the most important structured thing, and it's not even that structured, but it's like the most structured thing I do is my sleep schedule. And that's one of the things that I realized. Sleep is important for everyone. Regular sleep is important for everyone. I noticed that for me, it seems to have a bigger immediate effect on everything else. My physical health is not the best. I have some chronic conditions that I'm trying to get figured out. And like, if I don't sleep, I will get headaches that are impairing. Like, I can't do anything. And so I think because my body is so sensitive, it's kind of forced me to prioritize structured sleep. I'm still not the best at maintaining the same sleep schedule for long periods of time, but I am better at, for several weeks at a time or months at a time, maintaining a certain number of hours at within an hour plus or minus, going to sleep and waking up. But that is very different from like when I was 22 and at my most symptomatic with BPD, I would be, some days I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and other days I'd wake up at 1 p.m. Some days I wouldn't even go to sleep. So, and I think good sleep makes the other things easier. I feel like I have more control if I'm well rested. So I think that's really the primary thing that's pretty structured in my life. And the rest is very much just to-do lists and leveraging social pressure to get things done. I think when I set deadlines and I tell other people about them, that helps me maintain getting things done in a timely fashion. But like one of the things, because the ADHD is still very active for me, one of the things I really cannot do is like set a deadline for myself that no one else knows about and actually still get stuff done. Like, structure for me does have to be an interaction between me and my environment. I guess sleep is the only one that's an exception to that, but everything else, like I do have to have like external accountability, some sort of communication with people, so that that gives me the sense of urgency to get things done and have any kind of structure. Otherwise I would just stare at the wall and dream all day. I don't know.
I just realized I didn't realize how important it was, but I got myself a housemate because I spent a lot of time working for myself, living on my own. I don't have my family that live in the immediate vicinity. And that's actually, over the last couple of months, that's really made a dramatic difference in my ability to get stuff done, even things around the house. Because, for instance, I think, right, that person's coming back at a certain time, so I better maybe tidy up a little bit. And so then there's that drive to do something. Or again, sometimes having someone there saying, and I'll say, right, I'm going to do this today. So then there's that little bit of emphasis on trying to get it done before they get back, or showing them, look, this is done. So I think I'm like a big child in terms of that sense, where I need almost like a more stable adult at times, like a parental figure to say, have you done that? Like, oh no, I better go and do it now. So that's really helped. I know it's obviously, again, it's different depending on your age and circumstances, but having someone else living with you, if you get on well, I think that can really make a huge difference. Otherwise, I could just stay in bed all day long and not be accountable for anything.
Yeah, for me, I think a big thing is making sure that what I'm expecting of myself is actually reasonable. Um, like I know that sometimes I like trick myself by saying like, oh, I can deal with these three papers because, like it's not a book, it's just three papers. Yeah, it's three papers that are 50 pages in length apiece. It's not for me to read those. Like, can I read them in a day? Yes. Can I actually take anything away from them in a day reading them all together? Probably not. So it's like I set myself up to fail when I do that. And then that makes the structure like hard to maintain, and it sort of gives the illusion that the structure is the problem, and I can't establish habits. But it's not that. It's because the task that was totally unreasonable in the first place.
I have a question actually for you before you move on to something else. Do you ever have because I have the experience where my energy level or my ability can drastically fluctuate from day to day. So like I might have one day where I did, like, let's say using your example, I did read 3 papers and I retained stuff. And so then in the future I would do something like schedule that, assuming that because I've had that one fluke moment where I was just powering through, that I can just do that anytime. Have you, like, is that ever a thing where you're like, well, I've done it once, so I should be able to do it even though like I'm doing all these other things?
there definitely would have been a point where that happened like pretty regularly to me, but I recognized that it was very dysregulating to have such thoughts quite early on, and so tackled them. That's sort of why there is a degree of like allowing my emotion to govern what I do. That's why there's a degree of that, because if I don't and I just try to push through, I'm going to cause probably more harm. Whereas if I adjust my expectation of myself for the day, it's usually okay. I think during periods like I'm in now, where I'm studying for a specific exams that are at a specific point in time, I feel much less able to do that because I'm like, no, because if I don't bloody do it, then I'm going to be in trouble in a month's time or whatever. So it is a little bit harder to juggle with that. But yeah, I don't tend to have this expectation that I should be able to just power through it all on exactly the same day. Like my capacity levels fluctuate so much in terms of like how much emotional energy am I expending that week? Like, am I having difficulties in my relationship or other interpersonal interactions? Am I not really eating properly? Am I not sleeping properly? Did I get up too early today? Am I kind of low and choosing to read something that's going to make me lower? Like there's so many factors. So I just try to like not really have that kind of set expectation. And that kind of actually does lead me on to like the last thing. I have found it, I personally have found it very unhelpful to have structure to the point that every little thing in my day is planned or slotted in somewhere. I know a lot of people respond very well to that. I don't, because I can't function like that. I don't want to, like, some things I'm okay just letting my level of interest in doing X thing at the time dictate whether I do it. So like putting out the bins, for example, like if it doesn't need to be done right now and I don't care and I'm tired, I'm not going to bother doing it. But if I implement it into some kind of like heavy structured routine, I will feel shame for not doing it. And the fact that I haven't done it will make me kick the entire spreadsheet out the window, you know? So I haven't found that helpful, and I have done it several times in the past. But I do recognize that it does help other people. Just doesn't work for me.
I think that's one of the things that I still struggle with today is trying to find the appropriate amount of structuring, because it just seems like sometimes things get too structured and then I rebel against it in my own mind. And I think because I also have a hard time maintaining use of any particular like structure aid. Like I have a planner that a couple of months at a time it's full, and then there's like 4 or 5 months where it's just totally blank. Right? Like finding something that is consistent that I can do that with, because I relate to that. Like if it's too much, I don't want to do it at all. But trying to find a good middle ground has been difficult for me, for sure.
I think like for top tips for maintaining effective structure in my life, I think having an external source of accountability helps. Like I have an external sources of accountability, like my job expects me to show up, like my children expect me to pick them up at a certain time. That can be really helpful, like having some sort of external factor that is like an accountability for you, whatever that may be. Everybody's got to find their own like how much structure works for you. Not everybody is going to thrive with, like you guys have been saying, like with a super structured day, and not everybody's going to thrive with a super unstructured day. But figuring out what level of structure you need to achieve your goals in life, I think is a good start, because then you can kind of figure it out. And then I use things like calendars, I use things like lists, and like my healthy dose of like shame and anxiety. Like I would feel shame if I didn't show up for work or these things. And then I have this like internal anxiety of like, I need to get these things done. So I know that helps me, like my own internal forces that are driving me to stick with this structure. But something that I think anybody could implement is using like calendars and lists. But again, I think it's really going to depend. Like if you're ADHD, that might be not the way that really works well for you.
I had a question for actually, because this is as much for me as well. Now, I don't have a living partner. So I was going to ask any of you guys that do have a living partner or spouse, do you think it's easier having someone with you that lives with you in a relationship to maintain
Did you
structure?
say live in or living? Because I heard
No,
living.
no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that sounded a bit dark, didn't it? Someone that lives with you, a partner that actually lives with you, as opposed to one that lives in a different residence.
Okay.
Don't try this at home, boys and girls. Keep them alive.
I mean, I can answer that one because obviously I am married. I do live with my husband, and I'm happy to confirm he's also alive, Andre. So that helps as well. Currently. So no, we're good at the moment. We're good. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a challenge for us, I guess, because we're kind of like the opposite side to you, Zanny, where he's got ADHD. So because he struggles with structure and I love structure, I sort of ended up taking over, I don't want to say taking over his life, but like organizing him when really that was not the right thing to do, because then I was organizing myself, organizing him, and it became like a big issue over structuring everything for both of us, which wasn't healthy.
Mm.
So it's difficult to have that balance when you are at different ends of that extreme. So we kind of have an agreement now that I do me and he does him. And if it doesn't work, then we just have to accept that that is our personality and the way that we work. And we're not going to get angry with each other. And I've got to admit, it's still a bone of contention. We really struggle with that dynamic. But I think on the other side of it, he has actually given me that wake up call so many times where he's been like, you need to stop. And I've been like, yeah, okay, it's too much. So I have learned quite a lot from him in how to take a step back and let go of the reins a little bit. And although it does stress me out beyond belief because his way is not to structure anything if he can possibly help it, I do feel ultimately it's actually been beneficial for me. I mean, I don't know if he feels it's been beneficial for him, but definitely for me to learn to take that step back and not try and control everything. So it's definitely a difficult balance for us, and it isn't always on point, but we have made it work.
It's interesting because I speaking from that other side, I would say it is helpful because it's not like I have particularly enjoyed the level of chaos that I have had in my life. It's not like I love structure, but there have been times when my office is just like floor to chest piles of stuff and I can't find anything. Like, it's just so chaotic that it's not useful. So having somebody who is more structured has been really beneficial because, like, yes, I'm still a bit of a mess, but like the chaos in our house is nothing compared to what it was even just 3 years ago. And, like, we definitely had some challenges at first because my husband is very much of the mindset of like, you should just see things that need to get done and do it. And then he would get resentful and then kind of have a stronger reaction than I thought was reasonable because he had been stewing about it for a long time. And so, like, we had a conversation about, like, it's not totally on one or the other. Yes, it is my responsibility to see things that need to get done and do it. And also, if he's upset about something, he needs to voice that before he can't control his emotions about it anymore. And so, like, one of the things that he has done that I find very helpful is, like, sometimes in the morning before he leaves, he'll pick one thing and he'll be like, hey, could you make sure that the pet's water is topped off, or could you finish this one load of laundry, or could you do this other thing? Because I work from home, and they're like small things, because sometimes I get hyper focused and I just don't see it. So it's not a long list of things. It's not like every grievance. It's just like, here's one thing, Zanny, that I want to remind you about. And that I have actually found very helpful, because it's only one thing. And it's very small. You know, it's not like clean this whole room. It's like this load of laundry, right? And like that, these micro little things, I find that system has been very helpful for us. And then that one thing often gets me thinking about other things.
When we've been on the phone before, you've actually said like, "Oh, Casey's about to be home, and I got to do this one thing."
Yeah.
I was supposed to put these cups away.
Yeah.
And you do. You're like, I got to put these cups away now.
Yeah, that external structure really helps.
Yeah.
We technically don't live in the same apartment, but I sleep there like every single day. So I spend most of my day there. So I have space in the wardrobe now. So yeah, that I will
Ooh.
consider it kind of the same thing. My partner is like much less organized than me, and something that like through this conversation that I was reminded of is like structure also applies to space, not just your time. And he loves my structuring of the space. He much prefers the way that I structure things over for him it's like almost like a bit overwhelming sometimes. I don't find it difficult. I actually enjoy having an organized space. When I don't have an organized space, it has an effect on how I can function within the space. Because I'm just like, dude, like I can't think about this because there's just mess here, right in my line of vision. Like I just can't. It feels
Mm-hmm.
gross, annoying, you know? But I think what I've had to be really careful about is when that's what's happening, and when it's just that I don't like this here, you like it here, I'm remembering that this is actually not my space, no matter how much I spend here, and it's his things. I will say we've never had an argument about this, like it's never happened. He's never moaned at me for moving anything, and I've also just never done it without talking to him about it. Sometimes I've been like, oh, like I've noticed that like you can never find this thing, so why don't I just organize this in a way that makes sense to me and see if you like it? And usually that's how we get through those things. But yeah, it's never really like to an extreme. Like I can kind of, so like there are things that are like, we call it organized messes. I just leave them alone because it's his thing and I don't care. And I think if I put energy into it and I try to micromanage it, when he ultimately doesn't honor that, I'll see it as like inconsiderate, like disrespect of the energy that I put into it. So like I avoid creating that interpersonal catastrophe because it's not really fair. He's not me and he doesn't think about his space in the way that I do, and that's fine. If it has an impact on me, I know that he would let me step in and do what I want with it, you know, if it really mattered that much to me.
You have to respect somebody's piles. Respect the
Yeah.
piles. Like, oh, that's your pile. Okay. That's good.
Can we
Close the
just put
door.
a little blanket over that?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm feeling
exactly.
kind of hot, but it's okay. I'm just gonna not look.
How about just put a plastic bag over that?
Yes. I'm just
Because
gonna
I think,
turn my chair away.
I think what it is, I think a lot of single people can often have this fantasy that they would be more organized if they had a partner. So I was just trying to understand from people that were living in the situation whether or not I was being a little bit having too much of a high expectation.
I'm definitely more organized with a partner.
Really?
Yeah, if I live by myself, I am a chaotic mess. Part of the reason why I'm getting better at this is because of the external motivation of living with somebody else. Yeah, I mean, when I want to clean the house, I invite people over.
Oh my gosh, I do that.
I've also known that to go like the complete opposite way, to the extent that you both get so comfortable that you don't care. Like that's also happened with me before.
Yeah.
So I've had.
Did you see Georgia? Georgia's like, could be me.
I've had to be a little so my boyfriend comes over, he spends the night, so he's been spending time in my space, and he's very good though, because he's noticed how I guess my space is structured. And I think I like what you said, like structure doesn't just have to do with time, it can do with space and how you live and how your physical space is structured. And I like I try to be relaxed, like, oh, I'm just glad you're putting away the dishes. That's great. But then sometimes like I'll go back and I'll be like, well, this mug actually faces this way. And I put my mugs on my mug thing, and this mug actually they go this way. So I'll just go back and like change it. But you have to be careful with that kind of thing because it's disempowering to the person when you are so rigid that like if somebody's putting things away for you and then you go back and you're like, oh, thank you, but there you go, that's right. I find that I think of the other person and think that must be not disenfranchising but like disempowering. So I do have to watch that.
Having been on the receiving end of that, I can confirm this.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, I put it away, but it's not good enough. So why would I keep putting it out to be corrected? So I do, and like living with children, like obviously I can't go behind them and fix everything. So I have had to be like I'm in my kid's room right now. Is my kid's room clean the way I would? Like I've been the person who has organized Legos and who has done that. And I have realized like then somebody comes in and they just never stay organized. So I've had like I have the common spaces I like to keep very neat, very organized, very put away. But rooms, I just shut the door, I let it go. I ask that they put things away so I don't vacuum them up, but I have to just kind of like let it go. It's their room, it's their space. I can't be constantly fixing things.
So I was just going to say, one of the things that I've just remembered that we do, which has actually taken some of that pressure off in terms of me wanting structure and him not wanting structure, and that clash that happens from time to time, is we have got separate like jobs in the house. So he tends to do the cooking, but I do the washing, and then we don't get to comment on how each other does those tasks. But we kind of do it to what we're good at or what we enjoy. Like I genuinely don't mind doing washing and ironing, and he loves cooking. And I think that helps with the need to micromanage as well. So that's worked quite well for us.
Yeah, I do that with my partner as well. And Georgia, when you were talking about the like turning things to face a certain way or whatever, like I'm not gonna lie, I say that I don't like structure or whatever, but maybe I like it a bit more than I'm letting myself believe, because I absolutely like I remember I was in his apartment yesterday and I haven't been there for a few days because he's had a friend there, and I opened the cupboard and I'm like, the pepper's in the wrong place. But I will say that like how we manage that is like I laugh about it with him. Like it's just kind of a joke. We joke about the fact that I am that bothered because he genuinely could care less, you know? So he doesn't mind whether I put it back that way, and it certainly isn't like he doesn't see it as a correction. If it's ever because I'm actually bothered, I just like I strategize when I might do something like that. It really doesn't happen that much, but like say like I might do it when he's gone to the bathroom, I might just put it back in the right place and say nothing about it because he wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean? It's usually over like something so silly. If I'm that bothered, but I honestly I don't think that I have been. The only time that I've been like, why did you put this here, is because it's like making the cupboard door sit half open, and I'm like, you're giving. I'm sorry to offend if I'm going to offend anyone with this, but like, you're giving straight white man right now, and I need you to sort it out.
I need you.
Remember who you are.
Well, if that's the case, then I am 100% a straight white man, because that is what my husband will say all the time, like, he'll be like, why did you put this here? I'm like, I don't know. I just did. And like, I get that question from him all the time, like, why did you do it like this? And I'm like, I used to be really offended because I felt like the judgment from it, and now I just like I've embraced the reality, because I think I was very insecure about my ADHD and how little I think about stuff, and I wanted to be able to have an answer, and I didn't have one, and that made me really upset. So now I'm just like, I don't know, if you want it to be somewhere else, just put it somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Zanny, learning to laugh at yourself, that's been really hard for me because I would feel the judgment. But learning to laugh at yourself with things, I think, makes life a little easier.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying like, oh, it's totally on him to put things where like they should go, because like I do think over time it subconsciously sinks in, and I'm like, okay, I probably shouldn't put this cup sitting halfway out of the cupboard because it won't close if I do that. So, you know, I've gotten better at thinking about how he would prefer things to be, but not always. You know, like even just recently, he looked in the spice cupboard and it was like, why is nothing where it's supposed to go? And I was like,
You know that's actually a really interesting point, and that's something that made all of this so much easier is when he came and stayed with me here because my housemate was in the US and I needed to look after the cat. He was so conscious of like making it like we used my desk for something, and then like I went out the room for a bit, went and showered or whatever, came back and he'd put everything back exactly where I have it. And that was so like meaningful to me because that isn't how he thinks. I don't even know how he remembered the arrangement of any of this because he doesn't pay attention to things like that. But like he knew that it was important for me without us even talking about it, you know, and he just put it back. So like when I'm at his, I try to show him the same kind of like grace. I just leave, you know. When it's in the bedroom or whatever, if he's putting stuff on my side or whatever, I'm like, nah. Everything else, it's like, yeah, it's fine. I can shut the wardrobe door at the end of this, so I don't need to care.
well, thank you everyone so much for watching. We hope you got a nugget of wisdom to take with you on your journey. Thank you, BPD Besties from Patreon, for voting for this topic. We had so much fun talking and laughing and being silly. Sunday, we've got a BPD brunch episode coming out, and next Wednesday, we will be back with our last episode of season 6. If you cannot wait until then, please consider supporting our top 2 tiers on Patreon. Our BPD Buddies and BPD Besties get early access a week in advance to extended cuts of our Wednesday episodes. So next week's episode is available right now on Patreon. You can find it in the link down below. Again, thank you so much to our besties, and we'll see you next time.
Wow.
Bye.